A tale of two games over the weekend. Let's talk about it here on Locked On Blues.
Hey, this is Brayden Chen. Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I'm going to talk to you about that 4-0 Senators shutout. Yes, there was a hat trick by Saad. I'm going to talk to you about the loss of the Blue Jackets last night, and then, of course, the Minnesota Wild tomorrow. I told you January is a packed month of Blues hockey. I'm personally not complaining because I am a little bit biased when it comes to watching the Blues play, but a busy month ahead. But I want to let you know that you can start this season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So obviously the big takeaway from the game against the Ottawa Senators was the Brandon Saad hat trick, if I could speak. So in the first frame, Schenner started off the game 1-0, and then a couple minutes later, Saad was able to get his first goal of the night. Second period, Saad makes it 3-0, and then finally in the fourth period, Saad's able to bank it in and make it 4-0 and gets his hat trick. This was his third career hat trick, so really exciting for him. Binner stopped all 20 shots on goal. And obviously, Captain Brayden Schenn was able to get a goal. And the Blues outshot the Sens 25-20. And this was a really big game for the Blues. And I know I kind of said it kind of quickly, right, when I'm recapping the game, but it was really all St. Louis in control. Not only, are the Blues, I guess you can say, thrive. And I'm talking about that game on Friday, not the game, and not Friday, Saturday. Sunday was yesterday. So, yeah. Wait, was it? I'm getting my days mixed up. Whatever. The point is, the Blues had a stellar game. Now, I don't think necessarily that the Ottawa Senators are a bad team. And I think that's unfair for me to say that. I think that at the end of the day, the Blues just played a better hockey game. And that's basically how it went down. But for the Senators, again, I think that this is and currently at the time, it was the Blues' fourth win in their last 5 games, which was really big. And I think too with Brandon Saad, right? We've seen him kind of struggle this season, hasn't really been in the lineup as much. And I think for Brandon Saad, this was a huge night for him because it did show him, at least if they need to trade him, whatever it is, that he does have value still. So he hasn't scored in 19 games prior to his hat trick. And the last game that he scored was on November 14th against the Buffalo Sabres. So he had 2 goals that night. So when he does score, right? But a natural hat trick is so nice. He is the 12th player this season to actually score a natural hat trick. And the last time was Mitch Marner, Maple Leafs, obviously, at the end of December. So it's one of those things where he has been rumored, nothing's confirmed, but a name rumored to potentially be traded. And I think that this just kind of adds some value onto him. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing at all. I think that at the end of the day, and this is the important thing, he needs more consistency. And that's the problem with Brandon Saad, is that he doesn't have enough consistency. And I think for him as a player, yeah, it's not good enough, right? It's not how you expected him to play. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I think that this just go to kind of show that his consistency, at least for scoring multi-goals in a game, is there. Because when he previously scored against Buffalo, he scored 2 goals. So, like, when he does score, he scores, right? But you just need to see more out of him in the lineup. The problem that I think the Senators had is that they were in their 8th out of 9th game on the road, which is no excuse, but not to be home for all that time. I feel like it kind of does play a bit of an impact. And they did have some good shots, right? I'm not saying necessarily that the Senators looked awful, but Benner was just able to stop everything that Ottawa shot on net, which again just goes to show how sharp Jordan Binnington is. And I think that he has been one of those goalies that has just been on such an elevated platform, right? Ever since he got announced as being, Team Canada's goalie, starting goalie, just really big. But overall, the game was a Saad game. So Saad said, ever since break, I started to feel better every game. I felt like it was only a matter of time. So tonight felt good for sure. And I think the funny thing too is that sometimes like people laugh when there's like these little breaks, they had a holiday break, but sometimes the players really do need that. And Saad said himself that that's what he needed. So good for him. Um so anyways, another big thing too that I want to also kind of talk about is that Anton Forsberg, he made 21 saves for the Senators. And he played a fine game in net, right? The thing is, and it's not an excuse whatsoever for Ottawa, but I think that they are a team that has potential in the future, right? But right now they just don't have enough of those key pieces. It's it is what it is. Like Nick Jensen, for the Senators, he was kind of the reason why Saad was able to score that first goal. And I'm not trying to call these players out because I understand that Ottawa is not a playoff contending team, right? Same could be said about the Blues. 100% agree. However, what I can say is that despite it being a 4-0 game, it wasn't like it was so easy. The Blues obviously had good opportunity, but it wasn't like there wasn't any fight at all. So, and it's just one of those things, right? Um, so yeah. The Senators, as I said, 9 games on the road is quite a lot. It's because the IIHF World Junior Championship is being played in Ottawa. So if you're like, oh my God, why is it 9 games? I know when I said that, I was like, I didn't even think about people even questioning why. But as I said, it's just one of those weird road trips. And since coach Travis Green said, I'm not going to use that as an excuse, they get 4 out of their top, what did he say? I wrote it down. They got 4 out of their, I guess he's talking about his top players, and we've got to find a way to get some more offense out of our group. We're playing a little defensively, but we've got to create more. It'll be good to be back home after this trip. And yeah, so again, it wasn't like Ottawa didn't put effort in, and that's one thing that I did notice when watching the game. And I wrote it down too is score isn't representing how this game actually was. And again, I'm a Blues podcast. The Blues are my team. I'm a Blues fan, and I can confidently say, yeah, Ottawa, they looked good at times, no doubt about it. But I feel like sometimes in shutout wins, it's a little bit more difficult to really tell the story of that. But another crazy stat that I had down too is that Saad didn't have a point in his previous 10 games. And in his previous 19 games, it was just 2 assists. So Ryan Suter, by the way, he played 20 minutes, so good for him. Um, now I didn't mean it like that, but he hasn't been getting as many minutes on ice ever since he's been in the third pair. So happy to see Suter getting some more minutes. And I'm a huge Ryan Suter fan because I do believe that he stepped up tremendously for the Blues when there was a bunch of injuries before Fowler. So I was really happy for Suter to get some more ice time and be rewarded with that because that is a big deal. But unfortunately, everything is all good until it's not all good. And what does that mean? Well, I am talking about the Blue Jackets. The Blues went back on the road the next day. Yeah, that is right. And I can tell you this, it was not a pretty game at all. So I'll talk about that game. But first, I want to talk to you because I like to talk to you about my favorite app. That is FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. Visit the website right now because I am telling you different lines. Eagles right now on FanDuel, if you want to take them, they're -4.5. So make sure to go visit FanDuel, visit the website, visit the app, and check it out. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So there was a loss to Columbus, and it was a 6-4 loss. It was not great. Columbus had 39 shots on the Blues. It was quite a bit. So let's go talk about it. First period with about, I want to say, a solid 59 seconds left. Dmitry Renokov was able to get on the board 1-0. Kirill was able to make it 2-0 on the power play for the Blues in the second. Third period's when all the scoring happened. So let's break this down because it was a lot. Also, the names on the Blue Jackets are a little bit difficult. Okay. So Pythia was shorthanded for Columbus, right? And they scored. So on a Blues power play, they let up a goal. However, Jordan Kyrou, it was 3-0 at that point, by the way. Jordan Kyrou on the Blues' power play was able to score. He made it 1-3. And I have to say, Ruzi's been on fire. Adam Fantilli, I know that name sounds so familiar because of the draft and all that. However, he made it 4-1 for Columbus. Then I'm telling you, because he's been playing such good hockey lately, Cam Fowler, yep, that is right, the Cam Fowler, he was able to get a goal. So then he cut the lead in half. So he made it 2-4. Well, Columbus scores again like a minute later, makes it 5-2. But Colton Parayko says, whoa. Halfway through, the third frame, I'm going to get on the board and cut the deficit down to a 2-goal lead. Captain Braden Shen scores his 8th goal of the season, now making it a 1-goal lead. However, Oliver is able to score on the empty net, and he made it 6-4. It was a lot of scoring in that contest, and it was just one of those games where the Blues, they did battle, I will say that, in the final frame, but for whatever reason, and I don't know why sometimes the Blues do this, they kind of just sizzle away, and if they're not playing great, they're just so unnoticeable. But at the end of the day, the Blues have to win games like that, and it's not okay. Joel Hofer did make 33 saves. As I said, with Columbus having 39 shots on goal, it was a lot of time in the Blues' defensive zone, which was not good. However, the Blues have to do better, especially on their odd man rushes. And another thing, too, that I will say is that Kyrou goal was big because it got the guys back in the game. But at the end of the day, there's still no excuse whatsoever. And Kyrou said after the game, a little bit desperation, a little more push from us. We're trying to fire pucks more and just get to the net more. And I think that's the problem. Instead of passing the puck back and forth, just take the shots on goal because you have nothing to lose. When you hesitate and you're holding onto the puck too much and you're not shooting, you're never going to get the puck to go in. And Columbus was doing a really good job with that. And the way that Columbus was playing, it made it look like they were a better team than they are. But I think that the Blues just looked off from the beginning. I even said, I feel bad vibes. I think it was midway through the first period, just because the Blues did not look sharp whatsoever. And you could just kind of tell right away that St. Louis was definitely struggling. But I will say, though, Fowler made it 4-2. As I said, it was his 100th NHL goal. I'm telling you, he's hitting all these milestones here. So it was really, really big for the Blues. Parayko said we made a strong push. So that's a positive. Disappointed not to get 2 points, but it's good to see the push. Now, I take that, and I like Colton Parayko, and this isn't a diss on Colton Parayko by any means. I feel like I've been hearing that all season. Oh, well, we've been making a good push. This has been said, not just Parayko, but it's been said from a lot of players after these games where the Blues are, trailing, they come back, they don't win. It is January. I don't want to hear my hockey team continuing to talk about making a push, okay? I'm just over it. I really am. I think that the problem that I have is that we're now kind of like at the point in the season where you can kind of tell how a team is. And for the Blues, it is disappointing when you do hear the players say things like that, because at the end of the day, as I was saying all along, you have a great game against the Ottawa Senators. You shut them out. And then you have a game against the Blue Jackets. And I broke down all the games for January, and I said this is a game that the Blues should win. The Blue Jackets are not as strong. I mean, they look strong compared to us. So, like, who am I to say anything? But you need to get points against those kind of teams. And that just goes to show that the Blues are not a playoff team. If you can't beat teams like the Blue Jackets, and again, I'm not hating on Columbus whatsoever, I'm just making a statement, a factual statement, then you're not deserving of being in the playoffs. And I think to me, that was kind of like my big takeaway from the game, because this was on Saturday, by the way. But I just don't understand necessarily why maybe the Blues, I don't know. And Tyler Tucker got a penalty, by the way. Saad got a penalty. Tucker again for fighting. So when you have Tyler Tucker in the penalty box for 4 minutes, yeah, that's not a good look. Like, that's the issue. Like, Tyler Tucker doesn't do it for me. And I'm happy that they do have now like a guy like Cam Fowler. But like the defense is not strong enough, and you can't be taking penalties like that. Players, I know Saad just had a hat trick, and I'm happy for him. But it's like the players that don't do as much on the ice or in the penalty box, and then they put the Blues at a disadvantage. But it doesn't matter, because even shorthanded, the other team finds a way to score. So like there's no winning. But I think the frustration of being a Blues fan, especially this season, it's hitting me hard, because I've said on paper this team should be a playoff contending team, because you have one of the better goalies in the NHL in Binnard. You have Joel Hofer, who's actually been great too, as his backup. You have guys like Colton Parayko, Jordan Kyrou, Robert Thomas. You have Dylan Holloway, who's been huge for the Blues. And then you have guys like Jake Neighbors, but he hasn't been producing as much. The point is that on paper, this should be a playoff team. However, they're not going to be. So then there's a question. And the question is, when is the rebuild? And I know what you're thinking. We don't want to rebuild, blah, blah, blah. This team's going to need that, because, like, let's be for real. This team's a hot mess sometimes. And I'm sorry, but that's the truth. I know we all like Sonny. I know we got a goal against the Panthers. But what does he do? Like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to be mean, but when I'm watching these games, like, so many players, like, don't stand out to me. And that's not a good thing. So, yeah, you have to ask the tough questions. And some of those questions are, well, what is this player doing for the team? So just think about it. Before I talk about the Wild tomorrow, I'm going to talk to you about Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you're paying for twice? Well, that definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and saved a total of 500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features is the subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services I wasn't using anymore, and I've already saved a ton. Plus, with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. No more stressing out about budgeting every month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked on. rocketmoney.com/locked on. The Blues play the Wild tomorrow. Automatic L. No, like, I am sorry, but I really don't see how the Blues can beat Minnesota. The Wild, for whatever reason, have just lit up the NHL, and they've been such a good team, a dominant team. One of the more dominant teams, I would say, in the NHL this season. And I really, for whatever reason, cannot, and maybe like it's just because of this bad loss to Columbus, but I can't justify saying that the Blues can beat the Wild, and I am so sorry for that, and I want them to beat the Wild, obviously, um, but it's just gonna be a little bit difficult. So, I like to look at my friend called the standings, and they have 54 points. Blues have 42. Yeah, that just goes to show when the Wild win 25 games, that's a big deal. Now, the Blues have won 19 games. However, the Wild, they've been able to find more success just with the wins, right? I mean, they've played one less game than the Blues, but 25 points, 54 OTLs, boom, 54. Blues 19 wins, 18 losses, 4 OTL, 42. Now the Blues are ahead of Utah now, by the way, so they're still a bottom 4, but the Avalanche are at 49 points, so the Blues are kind of closer to them than anything, but still, like, I'm not trying to be that person, but the Avalanche are kind of a mess with their goalie situation. So, like, me, but then they got like McKenzie, so I don't know. Um, but yeah, like it's just a mess. But anyways, I think that the Wild will win this one, and I hate that I have to say that because again, I want my team to win. But one thing that I like to do though in a game like this is that right now the Wild are favorites at minus 170 per FanDuel. And I'm telling you that why? Because tomorrow, obviously, I'm going to talk more about the game between the two teams. I'm just kind of saying the look ahead. I think the reason why, though, is that Minnesota is just clearly the better team. And that's basically it. Um, they did really well against us last time, too. It's a mess. So I will talk about that tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to also talk about juniors because there's some exciting news about that. So I'm going to have a whole episode dedicated to our lovely prospects. We had a lot of guys with medals, and so I look forward to that episode. But a lot to recap from this weekend. And the nice thing is, though, because there's no more holidays, it will be a normal week here on Locked On Blues. I hope every single one of you had a happy New Year's. You had a great holiday season. Let me know in the comments below, my everydayers. Did you get any Blues apparel? Let me know. Also, did you go to the Winter Classic? And I really want to hear what you thought if you went to the Winter Classic. So I will talk to you, as I said, tomorrow. And like always, let's go Blues.